his heart was buried with his wife, and his daughter, though cheerful, longed for a mother's touch she barely remembered. But fate, in its quiet wisdom, often sends healing in the most unexpected forms. This is the story of a broken home, a gentle teacher, and a little girl whose innocent wish would stir love from the ashes of sorrow. Gather round. This tale will touch your soul.
Chris was once a man full of life, a builder by trade, a husband by heart, and a soon-to-be father. He had married Stella, his childhood friend, the only woman he had ever loved. Together, they dreamed of a future full of laughter and children's footsteps. But fate, oh fate, it does not ask permission. Stella died giving birth to their daughter, Nnediobi. Chris never recovered. The day he buried his wife, he buried part of his soul. From that day, he never opened his heart to joy again. His world became mechanical: wake up, work, return home, cook, and sleep. Nnediobi became the center of his world, yet he feared truly connecting with her because she reminded him of Stella. Her eyes, her smile, even her laugh. He loved his daughter, yes, but he was afraid of loving too much because love, in his eyes, always ended in pain. Nnediobi was a bright child, but lonely. She watched her friends be picked up by their mothers with wide smiles and open arms. She listened to stories told at night and wondered why her home was always quiet. She asked her father one night, "Daddy, why don't you smile like the other daddies?" Chris looked at her, and for a moment, he opened his mouth, but words failed. Instead, he kissed her forehead and whispered, "Sleep, my star, go to bed." But the girl carried a wish in her heart, a silent prayer. "God, send us someone who can bring light back into our home." Chiamaka was not from that style. She was posted there as part of her service to the nation, young, passionate, and full of compassion. She didn't just teach her pupils how to write and read. She noticed them, their silence, their fears. When she met Nnediobi, she saw it right away. A child who laughed with her mouth, but not with her eyes. She drew close. She gave her attention. Stories, songs, gentle touches of reassurance. Soon, Nnediobi began to glow again. She came home humming songs, telling her father about Miss Chiamaka, how she told stories like Mama, how she smelled of flowers, how her eyes were warm. Chris only listened. He smiled a little, but deep inside, he warned himself, she's just a teacher, nothing more. Nnediobi wanted her teacher to meet her father properly. So, she did what children do best. She orchestrated moments. "Daddy, my teacher says she wants to speak with you." "Daddy, I forgot my homework again." "Daddy, can she visit us to help with the project?" And slowly, Chiamaka began to come into their home. At first, it was school talk, then laughter over tea, Then, Chris began to talk about Stella. It was the first time he said her name aloud in years. Chiamaka listened. She didn't rush. She didn't push. She let him feel and heal. But just when warmth began to return, Chris pulled back. He panicked. Chris avoided her, stopped answering calls, gave excuses. Chiamaka was hurt, but she understood grief, so she stayed away, but silently kept praying. Nnediobi, however, noticed the shift. Her teacher was fading again. The woman who brought color back into their grey house was slipping away. She cried one night, "Why won't you let her love us, Daddy?" Chris had no answer, just guilt, just fear. One afternoon, under the sun's gaze, Nnediobi collapsed during their inter-house sports. The school called Chris. Panic overtook him. His hands trembled. His voice cracked. He rushed to the hospital, heart pounding like drums of war. And in that chaos, the only name he remembered was hers. Chiamaka, please come. And she came. She didn't ask questions. She didn't hesitate. She came and did not leave. She wiped Nnediobi's face, whispered prayers and held Chris' hand through the night. Chris wept openly. He hadn't cried since the funeral, but this time it wasn't just grief, it was surrender. When Nnediobi opened her eyes and saw her father's hand in Chiamaka's, she smiled. "Now you both are here," she whispered. Chris looked at Chiamaka with different eyes, no longer guided, no longer afraid. He saw peace. He saw strength. He saw home. Days later, he visited her, not as a broken man, but as one who finally believed he could be whole again. He said, "I don't know where this leads, but I want to walk it with you." They held hands in silence, the silence of peace. The house, once filled with echoes, now sang with laughter. Chiamaka did not replace Stella, but she helped keep her memories alive. He braided Nnediobi's hair, cooked with her, prayed with her. Chris smiled again, not out of duty, but from joy. The neighbors stopped whispering. Instead, they nodded and said, "God truly heals the broken-hearted."